What is going on, everybody? It is Alex coming back at you with another video, and today we are going to be doing, of course, another mock. The mock, and Josh Edwards is actually back with another one. Back-to-back weeks. We're going to be taking a look at it because I know Brochmo does a lot of TDN ones at the start of the week. Want to give you guys some more fun content. Josh honestly didn't do a bad job on the last one, so I thought it was worth going back again. TDNs have honestly been a little bit more ridiculous than even CBS, and we all know the reputation that CBS has, and, you know, they like to get the clicks. Most websites do. It's how they make their money, so can't blame them too much. However, let's get right into this. If you guys are new, feel free to like, comment, subscribe. Do all that fun YouTube jazz. Again, we just breached 5,500, so would love for you guys to join the community and just continue chugging along because it's been a great ride, and I appreciate you guys for having the patience for me. I'm in the middle of finals, and this is a weekend where I can build up some momentum, make some videos for you guys, and you guys will see something that makes me so excited in just a few moments. Because, well, not a few moments, probably like 10 minutes, 15 minutes whenever we get to the second part, because we're continuing the mock draft for a second round. That's my little special thing. I like to be able to do that for you guys, because I don't want to just look over and scroll on a screen and tell you my thoughts. I want you guys, I want to put my money in my picks where my mouth is. So you guys get to see where I can continue. And you guys get to see, gotta love when we get the text in the middle of the video. You guys get to see my board right there. It's not fully up to date. I mean, it's as of up to date as like a week ago. So, you know, there's still guys who are gonna move around. And I'm gonna say this again, say this every video, join the Discord. It's completely free. I do stuff over there like tape study, all 22 that you don't even have access to, that I can't do here on YouTube because of the fact that, you know, there's copyright issues. I've already been sued for like the video that I did of my buddy Rashi Rice because I used some film that I gave credit to the actual owner of it. YouTube didn't like that. They said that I can either demonetize it or else take it down entirely, or else my entire show gets taken down. And I love making content for you guys. 10 cents doesn't matter to me at all. So, you know, that guy can, you know, get his issues done over my 10 cents. I digress. Please join. It's free. We have a community of over 200 people there. You're missing out. You're only screwing yourself over there. And I love talking to you guys. It really is a blast. I love the fact that we have a Discord community that's that strong. And we have some really good moderators there, so we make sure that everything is clean. Well, clean enough to where it's good football discourse and not people spamming extreme hate. It is what it is. Of course, there's going to be some hate around here where it's damn NFL. But you know what I mean. There's nothing too crazy going on there. It's just all really good, fun guys just talking football. And I go over there, and when I'm not in the middle of finals, I do stuff like tape studies with you. And you guys get to see my special board that's not just this. You guys get to see everything about it. So I think it's a great experience, and it's a great offer because, again, it's free. But let's get on with this, starting off with the #1 overall pick, Bryce Young. Again, I think this is based off of Super Bowl odds. It might just be the pure draft order. I'm not 100% sure. But don't get mad at me for the draft order. Again, I didn't create it. This is actually, funnily enough, the last time I did this video, this has been my worst ratio of likes to dislikes of any video I've done in this past year. So, screw you, Josh, for doing that. But I hope you guys know I'm not the one doing this mock draft. So, again, it's not mine. It's CBS's. But Bryce Young at #1, I think that's the obvious move. Again, this team, the biggest, I think they could legitimately make the playoffs with their draft picks and with Bryce Young at the helm. It's going to move the needle the most. He is a very special quarterback. Yes, we have not seen somebody at that size and weight succeed in the NFL. We have also not really seen somebody at that size and size and weight in the NFL. So you're pretty much walking on very thin ice because he could be extremely injury prone. He doesn't have the strongest arm. But the fact is, his mind, his processing is incredible. He's been able to uplift his roster, and he's taken a very human Alabama team and still kept them in contention. So I do like Bryce Young. I think he doesn't get enough credit around the whole community. Now, the draft community, we all love Bryce, but the whole community, not so much. Jalen Carter's next for the Bears. I don't think there are trades in this one. There was trades in his last one, that was the ridiculous part. But Jalen Carter, if you can't trade, you have to go with that. Jalen Carter is a freak in this class, and given the depth of the edge class, I'm telling you, it's pretty damn awesome. It's pretty damn awesome what you can get in the second round. Will Levis is next. No, I know that, you know, there are actually rumors of Will Levis and like the Seahawks being like mutually into each other. But apparently that was the same thing before the season. So I'm not going to go off of that and start putting that into my mock drafts. Again, most of these teams aren't even using their scouts in college to do deep scouting dives until like probably January. And especially a team that's going into the playoffs, I'm sure they're using all their scouts available to be able to at least focus on other things rather than just Will Levis. Of course, they're going out and seeing him, but they're not really digging into the intricacies of his tape. Of course, I know this because the scouting director of the 49ers said it literally on this show. You guys can look that up. It's RJ Gillen, so you guys can use that in your search function. Love him. He's an awesome guy. I'm going to probably try to bring him back on the show in the offseason because we all know, as a scouting director, his role has increased tremendously, so he doesn't have as much free time to be able to come and join us for some nice little fun discourse. CJ Stroud's next. Now, I am not extremely opposed to this. I'm opposed to it because I think that Will Anderson's a far better pick. Because again, I do think that CJ would be like at floor Jared Goff, at ceiling Matt Stafford. Again, that's my comp for him, and that does make sense for the position. However, I just don't think Jared Goff is bad enough to be able to be warranted getting kicked out. He's a cheap enough guy. You can pay him $20 million a year, and you can build up a super roster. Or when a quarterback like Tom Brady, or you can use other capital to be able to plug and play a player that is, in my opinion, better than CJ. I've lost my faith on these guys, on CJ. There's only one quarterback I legit think might be an actual franchise quarterback, and that is going to be my number 5 guy there, Bryce Young. I'm going to scroll down so you guys get to see a little bit more on my board, just because the top is usually relatively similar. I know I have a crazy number 2, which, you know, I totally know that like I'm putting my reputation on the line by loving a player that much. However, I'm going to be honest with you guys, and that's just the way it rolls. I'm not going to BS you guys. If I really like a player, I'm going to show you. That's why I put my board there. But Will Anderson to the Eagles, best case scenario if they can't move from number 5. Of course, the Saints are playing Desmond Ridder in his first game, so this pick, unfortunately, might be falling for my Eagles fans out there. And I love being able to get the Eagles, guys like Will Anderson. But, hey, if I end up getting Jared Verse down the line, wouldn't be too ashamed at that. Miles Murphy to the Panthers. Again, if you're sitting there, no trades, definitely think that's probably your best choice. He's an absolutely phenomenal player. Again, I have him 6 on my big board. Had him 1 until like 2 weeks ago. He just isn't explosive enough to be able to put as the guy in the draft. You know, he's going to be a really, really damn good player, and I love him to death. Doesn't mean I'm going to put my name on him being the best player in the draft. He might be one of the most consistent, however. Pick number 7, Brian Breezy. After getting fully Fatukasi for a pretty expensive deal in the offseason, the last thing I would probably try to target is Brian Breezy. I'm very low on him compared to a lot of people, and so I do have a little bit of a bias when it comes to Brian Breezy. However, I will acknowledge this. He does have a very unique frame. 6'5", 300 pounds with very long arms. Definitely, if you're able to build up a defensive lineman, would not be a bad thing. I'll say this, though. I think that his production at 16 pressures over the entire year is extremely lackluster. I also think that the Jaguars have a lot of other big needs. I'd rather get a corner 2. I'd rather get a wide receiver 1. I'd rather get an offensive tackle or an offensive guard. So those positions I would heavily suggest over going after Brian Breezy, when again, we've seen defensive linemen from later rounds be able to pop up and be able to make a big impact as well. So I just don't really see the necessity of going after Brian Breezy because he may have a special frame, but it's not like the talent is that eye-popping to where it supersedes all your other issues on your entire team, especially because he's not even the best value at that pick. Skoronski, I would never deny getting offensive line help for the Cardinals. I know that Beachum, I think, is up for a contract, and DJ Humphries, I mean, he's a serviceable dude, but you can always use help regardless. I don't think an upgrade is ever a bad thing. Skoronski has 32-inch arms, which is really short, but he's also shorter, so again, not going to go into the physics of it. I could do that with you guys in Discord if you'd like. Of course, if you want that, ask me over there. I'm more than happy to do it. So I still think he can play tackle at the next level. He's a really damn good player. Pick number 9, Colts going Anthony Richardson. So He is going to be a 2-year project. I think he's better than Malik Willis in terms of his ceiling. He's my number 2 quarterback to start the year. His flashes are tremendous, and I am in full support of Anthony Richardson. He is my QB4, and it's honestly a really tight race between 4, 3, and 2. I have Bryce Young in my top 5 or top 6, and then I have CJ at 27. Then I have Will Levis at 31, and then Anthony at 50. It's a really tight race, like a really tight race. So Anthony Richardson, I don't think he can play in any of the special bowl games, and like I'm talking about like the Shrine or Senior Bowl. I don't think that he has ability to be able to do that. So he's going to shine at the combine. He's going to be a first-round pick. Doesn't matter. He's going to test out of his mind, and he's super young, super moldable. And he would not have come out if he got a second round or higher grade, or lower grade, if you want to think about it that way. So for me, I know damn well he came out because he got very favorable reviews. He has a cannon of an arm. He's an absolute athlete, and he's one hell of a unit at 6'4", 235. Just a big fan of Anthony Richardson. Have been for a long time. He needs a lot of development, though, so that's why he's at 50 on my board. I usually like the guys in the top 32 that are QBs to be able to step in and play. Like, 50 is a really good spot on my board. Like, there's a lot of really good players in this class. Trent Simpson is really high for a linebacker. I wouldn't do it necessarily. You know, I do think there's better positions, corner, edge rusher. Like, there's just better value. However, if you're really desperate for a linebacker and don't want to go in free agency for one, Trent Simpson is head and shoulders probably the best in the class. So I understand if you're afraid that you really need to get that value, you can do that. But I do think there's good linebackers out there. I'd rather go Alexander Johnson, who's in free agency right now, and be able to get a top-tier corner too, than go after Trent Simpson. And yes, I know Casey Hayward's there, but he's getting older. He only has 1 year left on his contract, so you want to lock that up for the long term. So I like that position. I like going after corner too. But Michael Mayer does seem to fit the Packers. I love the idea of going Darnell Washington round 2. I'm such a huge fanboy of that. I also know he goes in this mock. So if understanding that in the first round he's going to be gone, I'd much rather get the better tight end for sure. I think Quentin Johnston should be the move. I'm pretty sure he hasn't even gone yet. So, you know, I just think there's better moves than Michael Mayer. But he does seem to fit the Packers. I would not be shocked if this is the actual pick. Now, if they go a receiver in the first, you already know they're going to do everything they can not to get an actual receiver. So Michael Mayer definitely fits the ideology of a Packer. And I'd be intrigued. I'd be very intrigued. Keely Ringo, great fit. I'd like him. He's super versatile. I think he'd fit any scheme as well. Hyper athlete at a great size. And that's going to be very intriguing for a lot of teams. I like Tyree Wilson. I do this pick myself. Of course, I like to change it up from time to time. I think Quentin Johnston would be the best pick here. Again, this edge class is freaky good, but I do really like Tyree Wilson. So, I mean, y'all could see I have him at number 15 on my board. Pick number 14, Paris Johnson. Have him a bit lower than a lot of people. I just don't like the fact that his anchor is just not very good. He gets driven back by pretty much anybody, and that does concern me quite a bit. And even against guys like Lucas Van Ness, who is considered to be a day 3 type of guy. And I like Lucas Van Ness. He has a high ceiling. And I'll tell you guys soon, I'm trying not to spoil the greatness that just happened. If you're in the Discord, you would already find out. But, yeah, I mean, Paris Johnson just gives up ground too easily. That's a big concern of mine. I didn't like that much about Charles Cross. Same thing goes for Paris Johnson. Not saying I didn't like Charles Cross. I still have Charles Cross as a top 10 guy. I think he's phenomenal. But Paris Johnson he looks a lot more uncomfortable in my opinion. So Darnell Washington here at pick 15, I did not know it was this pick. So obviously I have it preloaded up because, you know, we got that right there. Oh, oops. So we'll do a quick check on the guys who are returning as well, see if any of these guys have returned. But Darnell Washington, man, he's incredible. To be honest, though, I am very curious. So again, shout out to this. I'm going to leave this in the description so you guys can see it. I'm going to start doing that from now on. Let's see if there's any tight ends who have... he's not part of the guys who have officially just said they're declaring, but he's not some of the guys who are returning. So that's what I really wanted to see right now. But again, I don't think you're giving up your tight end for a second-round pick and getting a project tight end for a first. You have great guys like James Mitchell. I was a big fan of him, and I think he's going to be a star. So I'd probably prefer to stick with that route and then be able to use this pick on, let's just say, even Quentin Johnston. But I think a corner 2 is the best. There's a lot of really good ones on the board. That's probably where I would go. I wish I had a deal with this company, but I'm forgetting the name of it right now. It's like Daily Harvest or something. They got like a lychee dragon fruit one. Whew. Man, like that, that's some good stuff. But JSN is a great fit for the Chargers. Obviously, very similar comp to Keenan Allen, and it does make sense. He's been injured all year. There's a legit word that he's not going to make it into the first round. Jordan Addison, perfect fit for the Patriots. Devontae Smith was a big guy for Mac Jones, and you see guys like Jalen Waddle, John Mechie. They're all of a similar build to Jordan Addison, so I do think that's an instant scheme fit there with the quarterbacks. So Joey Porter next. Love Joey Porter in the scheme. Obviously, he's my number 3 player in the draft. Cyrus Torrence, have him a little bit more down my board than pick number 19. Definitely not 11th. He has a lot of really bad plays, but he has some stellar ones too. And if you're in the right situation, of course, you can mold your guy into reducing those bad plays and then obviously in that creating more good plays. Jared Verse is my favorite fit in the entire draft of this team. Like, I think he's just he might be the best player in the class. I'm not even joking. I saw him versus Florida, and I swear to God, it is almost impossible for me to say he's worse than Will Anderson. Like, there's just something about this guy. And he's number 8 for me as well on my board, but that's like me being very, very, very conservative. Like, he doesn't put up the stats that Will Anderson does. He's also recovering from an ankle injury he suffered early in the year and like only missed a game or 2 for it, so ankle is pretty huge. He's not even playing at full strength, and my God, is this guy special. Like, you got to give Brochmo some credit. He told me about Jared Verse before because I did not want to watch any Albany tape in the offseason when I'm doing my 40-hour-a-week internship. But, hey, cheers to him for that. He spotted it out. Got to give credit where credit's due. Christian Gonzalez, my favorite man-to-man corner in the draft. He'd be a perfect Titan, to be honest. He's really aggressive, really mean, and he's gotten even better at Oregon. Broderick Jones, he's done a phenomenal job accepting him as my number 2 player in the draft, which nobody seems to be that high on. But Broderick Jones is really special. Apart from one game, he's looked fantastic. Cam Smith, perfect scheme fit for a team that's desperate for a corner. I do like that. He's a little bit lanky, but I think he can be perfectly fine. He has a better body comp than Sauce Gardner, but I'm waiting on the All-22 to restudy Cam Smith. He's very far down my board compared to everybody else, and I'm giving him credit where credit is due until I can support it with my own revisions. Brian Branch, that guy's insane. Don't think this is this could be the team to mold him properly. I personally would love to go offensive line here. I just love offensive line. That's just me. We see teams that have really good offensive lines usually end up, beating the teams without it. And there's special guys like Joe Burrow who can kind of, cover up for that until they face an elite defensive line in the Super Bowl and then lose because of their offensive line. So I personally would rather invest in the O-line here because I think there's some good tackles still on the board. But Brian Branch is an amazing player, and I absolutely love putting him anywhere in the NFL. I'm excited to see him around someone like Patrick Surtain, around Justin Simmons. Like, those guys are going to be amazing mentors for someone who's a super high ceiling defensive back. Quinn Johnston, that's where they had him drop to? That's ridiculous, man. I'm excited to see him versus Michigan corners because he hasn't had a full-on test versus elite corners yet, and that's a big game. Oklahoma State, he balled out, and those are usually like 7th-year seniors there. So I'm very, very intrigued to see Quentin Johnston. Devon Witherspoon has no right being up into the first round. He's been phenomenal this year, 100%, no disrespect to him. But 6'1", 180. He has some baller-ass photos, though. I actually have some in my my Photoshop, quote-unquote, folder. He has some baller-ass photos. So, definitely would love to feature him in a top 10 corners video, which will be coming out periodically over the offseason. There's multiple announcements I'm going to have to make, but there's only going to be one of them in this video, and it's something that you could easily search up right now, or you probably already know if you're in the Discord. But Felix Anudike-Uzomah, don't think edge rusher is necessarily the need for the where the young player. I don't think that's a very good justification to go FAU. And y'all can see, I'll scroll up, Felix right here is my number 14 player. I am a big fan of him, so I think he's a great player. But of all the positions, I don't know if this is the one where I'd be going to target it. Bijan Robinson's next. It's at that point where it's like, okay, I don't think Kansas City should go running back, but you're taking him away from the Bills and you're still getting Bijan. I would not be against it because of that defensive fact. Like, you are making sure you're not facing Bijan Robinson with Josh Allen. And to me, I would spend a first-round pick to never have to worry about, arguably one of the best running backs since Saquon Barkley coming out of college, facing you every year. Josh Downs, I think, is a perfectly fine option. I like other wide receivers a little bit better, but that's just down to personal preference at this point, and I don't think Josh Downs is bad at all. I might have even taken Josh Downs for this team in the first. So, really not against it. This is something I'm heavily against. Jahmyr Gibbs. Doesn't make sense. He's pretty much a better version of James Cook, who's had a perfectly fine job. He's done a perfectly good job there in Buffalo. So you're replacing him with a barely better version. Really doesn't make sense to me. Like, at this point, you can go after Antonio Johnson, who's going to be a really nice defensive piece for you. And this running back class is so deep. You want someone like Jahmyr Gibbs for really cheap? Trey Benson. Like, love that guy. Kendre Miller. Can't hit it in from, like if you're looking for another Jahmyr, which you already have pretty much two of them with, Nyheim Hines as well as James Cook. But, Kendre Miller can't plug it in from the one, so sorry, TCU fans. Not sorry, pony up. You guys whooped our ass. But just doesn't make sense. There's so much better value out there. Don't know how the hell prospect ranked 14th, but I really do like Jahmyr Gibbs. He was one of the guys who I featured really early. DeJuan Jones is next. Oh, I do apologize to the Steagles. So that's a funny joke. But to the Eagles fans out there, he's just not that good. He has some really fun tape, but he randomly is really, really off balance. And randomly, he gives up a lot of ground for a man who's 360 pounds. Just a really weird body comp. Like, he looks like he's a tank with little stick legs at points. And he has a little thin arm. It's really weird. Like, you watch him play against people, it's like, really? Like, really? It's weird. Because DeJuan has some crazy reps where he does a perfect snatch and stuff like that, but I mean, I'm telling you, it's really weird. So we're already 22 minutes or 20 minutes into the video. Let's jump right into the mock draft, of course. So this is the exciting part. Look at how many players are on here. They've updated it. This is like nirvana for me. So I'll tell you something in a moment that is even more exciting. And my fans of my show already know it. I've already referenced my crazy love for a certain player. But he'll be making a feature soon. But at pick number 32, we've already went Tyree Wilson and Bryce Young. I think now might be a good time. I mean, Antonio Johnson's never a bad idea. Jalen Jones, never a bad idea. They love these guys who are in Texas. That seems to be a pretty consistent draft history is, players in Texas. So I don't think it's a bad idea at all. I do like the idea of Antonio Johnson, though. I mean, him and Jalen Pitre would be so nasty. I know linebacker is such a big need, though. Drew Sanders, to me, is just an awesome, awesome pick. Like, again, people were talking about Brian Cushing being a comp, and that's, like, literally such a culture fit. Of course, Brian Cushing being a linebacker for you guys for a long time. And I think it's a really good comp. I don't think it's far out there. Of course, it's easy because you think of a big white linebacker who's a good leader, and you think of Brian Cushing, right? Luke Kuechly's obviously the epitome of it, but let's not ever go there. I think that's an amazing choice. I'm going to stick to my guns and go with him. The Steelers already went after Paris Johnson. And, I mean, it's down to Antonio Johnson and Jalen Jones. I love Antonio Johnson so much, but you got to get a boundary corner. We already got some offensive line help. Jalen Jones is my number 7 player in the draft. I'll scroll up so you guys can see the proof in the pudding right there at number 7. So, yeah, I'm a big fan of him. We'll scroll down so you guys get a little bit more on my board too. But at pick number 34, so Jared Verse as well as Will Levis. Let's just move past that. You already got your boundary edge, and I like that. Defensive interior-wise, I'm curious if they have Jerzon Newton in here. I'm just really curious where they have Jerzon, because he grades out phenomenal. You bastards. So y'all know my love for Jerzon Newton, who's sitting there at number 40 on my board. We are going to check this out right now. Like, I don't think he's declared that he's returning, and he has not. So I am going to flip my lid. He doesn't say he's coming out either, though. So cool that Keanu Benton's coming out. Never going to draft him. So that's okay. I'm going to have to literally use another player. They have 225 guys on the board, and one of them is one of the few people I cannot choose. I digress. I still think building on the interior would not be a bad idea, although I'm just not seeing anybody that, besides Jerzon, would really get me going. I think Antonio Johnson, a 3-safety set, definitely feels very Seahawky, and he can play in the slot. I think he can play boundary. I think he can play linebacker. To me, he's the best value on the board by a good margin, especially compared to what you guys need. And unfortunately, Tyler Newbin is no longer in the draft process. So they finally have Rome Odunze on here. That's awesome. I'm fanboying right now. I digress again. We are going to end up going after Antonio Johnson here. I just think it's the best value on the board. I know a safety doesn't need to go this high for the Seahawks, but I know you guys value him, and I know this guy's talent is incredible. He's number 16 on my big board right now, so being able to get that crazy of a value with that good of a player, to me, is totally worth it. Rams, I'm going to continue pounding the table here. Anton Harrison, next highest guy in the draft for me. Not named Javon Foster, but Javon, he needs to go to a place that can develop him, not a place that needs someone to start right away. Anton has multiple years of starting at tackle, so I think that he's going to be perfectly fine. Pick number 36. Tanner McKee came out, man. Oh, Hendon Hooker. I'm so sorry, man. He's such a great talent, but he's old. He got injured in the one spot that was his biggest strong suit. Not going to be going after Hendon Hooker probably in this round. So Tanner McKee will be the pick. I just think that you might as well take a shot on him. He literally is coming out because he probably got a good enough grade. If he got a third-round grade or lower, he would not come out. If Jason Garrett's going to be going there, they're going to be probably pretty damn solid with a guy of Tanner McKee's talent. There's someone who told him, you're probably going to be a second-round pick, dude. And he's like, okay, bet. And I think it's a good move. You're also defending against the Panthers, potentially bringing in some extra competition for Matt Corral. So, again, it's a win-win. But the Panthers are sitting here. You got Myles Murphy in the first. I think that corner definitely could be on a short list of positions that you go after. You have injury issues with Dante Jackson, and unfortunately, C.J. Henderson has not really stepped up to the plate. That being said, doesn't mean he can't. And if he does, awesome. So I definitely think that should at least be in consideration. Offensive line-wise, I'm not ready to plug anybody. I'm not really ready to kick anybody out yet. Running back-wise, don't really think the value is here besides Devon Achane, which I know I'm going to be able to get him. Please say that the love of my life is sitting in here. Oh, no. 255 players, and they do not put Trey Benson. I wonder if they're just not thinking Trey Benson's coming out. And we'll quickly check right now. I thought Trey Benson would be coming out, and it doesn't say that he's done that yet, which sucks. But, oh, my heart. A moment of silence. Robert Scott's not even coming out? Oh, my God. You loser. I understand, though. He had an awful season. So, I just need a moment of silence right there. You still get Chase Brown later on. You still get Deuce Vaughn, who I love. You guys can see him right there on my board. He's my RB2. So, I don't think running back's a necessity at this pick. I don't. So, other positions to target, again, I like being able to go maybe after a linebacker here, being able to get some good presence on your team, but I mean, I don't know what this team really needs. I have a lot of faith in this team. You get a quarterback, you're good. Honestly, I seriously believe that. You're able to make running backs look really good. I think a tight end could actually be a good option here, though. You have some really good players. Love to see the love for Sam Laporta, Josh Wiley in there. I'm super excited. Brevin Spanford also is a really good linebacker. But I think Dalton Kincaid would be a really good option for this team. I think that based on the quarterbacks that are available, they love having probably somebody who'd be a really good safety option, and Dalton Kincaid has just been awesome. I'm going to try it out. Again, this is a low-risk situation. You guys can give me some feedback because, again, I like being able to build you guys good mock drafts. Pick number 38. Your first round pick's already fucked, so I do apologize about that. But I do think getting a wide receiver 1 would not be a bad idea. I want to see where they have guys on here. This is my first time looking at the board, so it's really, I'm going to lose my mind. I am pretty sure he's not returning, but I do want to put out, like, he's number 32 on my board, Justin Shorter. And I apologize about this. This is going to be a little bit annoying. Don't do it. Yes, he's not in here. So, excited to say there's still a chance. There's still a chance that he is coming out. But yeah, Justin Shorter, love him to death. I don't see him on here, and I could just be completely blind, but we're definitely going to be keeping him in the running for this mock draft. I do think that's a position to target. I also think guard is, and I really like Andrew Voorhees just being able to step in and take over Ben Barch's position. I've been wanting to do that for a long time. I've been continuing to do that for a long time. I think he's a great player. Pick number 39. So drafted offensive line round 1. Cool beans. There's still some really good corners on the board. Eli Ricks doesn't exactly fit the way I'd want him to. You know, they have some interesting players on the board still. I like Tyreek Stevenson a lot. I think that he'd be a perfect scheme fit for this team, and I don't know if anybody's going to be good enough later on. It's not with trades, so we're going to go Tyreek Stevenson. Going to give him a little bit of love, 6'2", 212. You know, he's just really well built, and I think his comp is Pat Peterson, who obviously had a very, very good career here. Pick number 40, Anthony Richardson on the squad. You know damn well I'm going tackle. And one of my favorite guys in the draft, Darnell Wright, is on the board. You guys see him at number 34 on my board. Big fan of that man. Left tackle, right tackle versatility. Pretty great in an NFL where guys get injured on the line all the time. Pick number 41, went with a linebacker in round 1, which again, not awful. I would like to go after an edge rusher in this round, and there's so many dudes that you can go. I'm going to go with Andre Carter, one of the highest ceiling edge rushers. B.J. Ojolari would be equally as fun. You know, you do whatever you want. I have B.J. higher, but Andre is 265 at 6'7", super raw, and I think this team's a little bit away from contention. So he provides the highest ceiling. I'm going to go with that. The Packers, you need to stop the run. And I think that, you know, Tyree Wilson would be a very logical pick in the first round. And for that reason, someone who has a very similar size and overall build, it's time. It's time. Isaiah McGuire. So y'all took one of my favorite edge rushers last year in the 5th round, and that was Kingsley Enagbare. And he's been racking up pressures recently. He started out really slow, but now he's had 17 pressures on the year, including 4 in the last week. I think that he's an awesome player. I can honestly see Isaiah being a 3rd-round Packers pick, man. I thoroughly believe it. He's my 2nd best player in the entire class. I love him to death. I think he's a perfect fit for a team that's desperate for some extra assistance. How interesting. My mouse is actually over my not my mock draft board, but Isaiah McGuire, regardless, really damn good player. I'll scroll down for you guys to see a little bit more on my board. Love myself some Zay Flowers, but Keely Ringo, 1st-round pick for the Raiders. Of course, they're probably going to get that wrong in, you know, Raiders fashion. But looking at Javon Foster here, I would love to put him as a right tackle and just develop him. He's my number 21 player in the draft. I certainly want to test out Javon Foster in the long run. Again, this team doesn't have very high standards for offensive linemen. Your starting right tackle was essentially a 7th-round pick. So getting someone with an extremely high ceiling like Javon Foster, who's going to compete immediately as a really good run blocker, with the ceiling of Trent Williams as a pass blocker as well, to me, it's totally worth it. I'm a big fan of Javon Foster, probably more than everybody else on the planet combined. So I used to always go B.J. Ojolari for the Browns, and I still think that's a very viable option, but looking at the edge rushers they brought on, they're usually like 250 plus, and I know B.J. is at that 250 mark. I just want to see some other guys who might be better fits, and I'm so happy I actually get to scroll through this. Like Brandon Dorless, I think he could be a great player in the later rounds, so I don't know if you necessarily need to target one right now. Wide receiver, I think, would still be a good option. Romo Dunze is a very good wide receiver. I just have a lot of players in here that I really, really like. And one of those is Xavier Hutchinson, who I think would be a very nice complement to Amari Cooper. I just don't think going after another speed burner is necessarily going to get you anywhere. So getting a nice, reliable hands target, and Xavier Hutchinson, probably going to be a very solid move for your team. Pick number 45, we're back with the Steelers, and again, offensive line, probably the way I want to go. John Michael Schmitz, y'all know the rotation. I think that his talent is incredible. He's a perfect scheme fit, has that nastiness. Just seems like one of those guys that Steelers are going to draft because he's going to be a damn good Steeler. Pick number 46, so we got to review what the hell the Lions did because I'm pretty sure something pissed me off. I think both picks irritated me. So Darnell Washington as well as CJ Stroud. Neither of which I would go with. So we're already starting on a very low note. I think linebacker with my later pick is going to be my move. I want to look at a corner with this one. Clark Phillips, little bit smaller, but this guy definitely has corner 1 style potential, and I would love for him just to be a plain corner 2. Worst case scenario, he's a slot guy who can also play safety, and he's really good in man-to-man, so I would love to test him out in this system. Pick number 47 for the Chargers. I might just be getting B.J. Ojolari because he's BPA. I really believe it. Jack Smith-Njigba was the first-round pick. Running back, you can always go after one. I think Blake Corum's probably going to return when all is said and done. So there is that chance. But interior defensive line, I think Jerzon Newton would be really fun. I think edge rusher, great. Linebacker, great. Honestly, defense, pretty damn solid. I'm going to go with the highest upside player, B.J. Ojolari. I don't think you need edge rusher at all. But you're taking the best player available for your team. You're growing him under Khalil Mack. To me, I think that's the best case scenario. You're just getting somebody who's going to be really damn impactful. You're not going to fill all your needs with one pick, but if you can get a superstar edge rotation with somebody who's younger and cheaper than your other edges, would be pretty nice. Pick number 48, you also took him away because I would love B.J. Ojolari to be a Patriot. The Patriots, they need a tackle. They do. I want to see the tackles on the board. So Blake Freeland, tell me Blake Freeland doesn't feel like he could be a really good Patriot. Cody Mock does as well. We're going to go Blake Freeland here. Graham Barton, like all of those like white, weird left tackles that don't exactly fit a scheme, you already know they're Belichickian. You just know. So pick number 49. I think that going after BPA would probably be best. I like Luke Whippler. I think that he could be really fun. Olusegun, not getting enough credit. Interesting. Don't know why the UW logo is not over Jackson Kirkland's face, but you do you. I mean, I'm not gonna get on you guys for that. But tight end would not be a bad idea with Sam Laporta, Luke Musgrave there, obviously some other tight ends. I think that linebacker, not a bad move with Jack Campbell. I actually really like that move. You're just getting some good consistency. You seem to take some pretty boring second-round picks anyway with Fedarian Mathis. At least you're getting a really solid dude in Jack Campbell. Like, he won Best Linebacker of the Year. I think there's a Bednarik Award. It probably isn't the Bednarik Award. Might have been. Regardless, he's a really good linebacker, really good leader, improved himself over the offseason. I love my guys who do that. Buccaneers, man, I mean, what did they go with in round 1? I'm tripping. Who do they go with? Osiris Torrance. So, building the offensive line. Don't disagree with that. Now, do I think they could go after someone like Hendon Hooker and just keep him on the roster? Sure. But I don't think that you necessarily have to force that. I think edge rusher still has some incredible talents on the board. I still think that would be a good move for the franchise. And there's some crazy talented guys in here that I think would be great. Will McDonald being one of them, but Isaiah Foskey just has that weird size to him, and he's going to get drafted around this range, so out of realism, I think it's fair to go that route. Pick 51, Jared Verse, Will Levis, and then who did I get this round? Antonio Johnson. So linebacker, still probably at the forefront of my mind. And you have Noah Sewell here. I really like Noah Sewell. I think he'd be a good option for this team. Probably my front runner for this pick at the moment. Tight end, I've heard you guys are actually looking for one. You guys really like Michael Mayer. And if you like Michael Mayer, a really good option in a very thin, it's not very thin, in a thinner tight end class is Sam Laporta, who I actually have as my tight end 1 still. Probably going to change when, again, watch the All-22, but I think that's just a really solid guy. Very good at blocking. He's just super well balanced. A good route runner as well. You guys like to use guys like my former high school buddy, Colby Parkinson, so Rep Oaks Christian. My former teammate, obviously, They use him quite a bit, and that's like their third tight end. So it's a very high tight end usage offense, and you have multiple coming up for a contract next year. Would not be a bad idea to send one of these free picks on a very talented tight end. Pick number 52. So I want to check again. Oh, you went Christian Gonzalez. So I still think offensive line. I'm going to be pounding the table. So Robert Scott decided to go back. I think that's a pretty smart move for him, even though it makes me a little bit irritated. Offensive line, man, I don't think I can get past missing on Luke Whippler. A little bit lighter, but he's just super consistent, and you need some consistency on that offensive line. I think that's a good spot to go. Pick number 53 for the Jets. Linebacker certainly seems to be the position I love, but I love J.L. Skinner because he can fit multiple roles. Hamza Nasir-Dean kind of like was the failed version of him multiple years ago. 54 for the Giants. Already went after a corner. I think that's great. And I mean, again, linebacker, probably one of the main positions in my mind. Wide receiver, though, when you have all these dudes here, like Jalen Hyatt feels like he could be such a good Giant. You think about that Darius Slayton aspect. It's going to be pretty much cheap Darius Slayton, who has a lot of production, so I love that. Pick 55 for the Dolphins, tight end. Again, you have some really, really good ones. Austin Stogner's not even coming out in this draft. I don't think that Eric Gilbert is either. That'd be pretty insane if he does. Josh Wiley, love him to death. That'd be my next pick. Like, honestly, that'd be my next guy I would take, and I'm not going to take him at 55. So, like, I don't really see... Like, this is a spot where I would trade back, because, again, you already used up a lot of draft capital by, pretty much losing it. Sorry to tap a nerve. But Nolan Smith could be a really fun option. You pair him up with Channing Tindall. And I want to hear your guys' thoughts on that. Let me know. Nolan Smith, definitely worth sending a pick there. This pick is going to be Devon Achane. Again, getting a super high upside running back for you. The Bears, decided to go on Jalen Carter. And guess what? I still have a top 17 guy at edge on the board. Will McDonald seems to be the easy choice. Bengals can use help everywhere, man. Honestly. I mean, they're such a good team. They make a lot out of a little. But went Devon Witherspoon round 1. I am so going to go offensive guard right now. And that's Christian Haynes. I'm taking a high upside guard. I know Lusagoon is more fun. It's what I did my last mock, but got to show some love for Christian Haynes here. Pick 59 for the Cowboys. Whew, man. They already went after Felix Anudike-Uzomah. I think that, you got to go DB, right? DB is a position I really want to go with this team. And I think the slot's opening up. Let me know about this, Cowboys fans. I like the idea of Chris Abrams drained to this team. Very, very elite player. Like, he's very under the radar. Amazing DB. But he's more slot/safety, so I would love to hear your thoughts. For the Chiefs, I'm actually going to get a position y'all need. Edge rusher or interior. And looking at the guys who are available, I love Laiatu Latu as a project edge here. But I'd honestly just wait at this point. Not really that hyped. And based on my edge rankings, not very hyped at all. So, defensive interior, man. I'm going to go Gervon Dexter. He's somebody with an extremely high ceiling. You put him next to Chris Jones, you're going to start eating. And this is probably my favorite pick. Y'all pointed this out. Like, I forgot about the Sewell connection. Like, his damn brother plays tackle. And is one of my favorite players. Penny was my number 1 player in that draft. So, get the brothers back together. Get the Sewells back together. Apparently, people are a lot lower on him than I am. But Noah Sewell showing some love. Scrolling down as well so you guys get to see a little bit more on my board. The Bills kind of screwed them over, man. The nubbin himself. Quindell Johnson. So Jair Brown's a guy who I might take here. Christopher Smith. Ooh, Chris Smith is such a bill. I'm taking Christopher Smith. He's such a bill. Super versatile. Like, he can run like a missile to the ball. He was getting first round hype at the start of the year, and he deserves to get day 2 hype. So want to show him a little bit of love. We're not doing it round 3, especially from this, but we'll probably be doing it next week. That's the whole entire point of that. But the Eagles, definitely love what happened in the start of the first, but this pick was a complete bust. So you got Will Anderson, you got a great pick, and you got a bust. It's kind of like karma. Karma came back. Running back, certainly think that's on the table. The love of my life decided to return, which rips my soul out. Edge rusher, I still think going after somebody at this point would not be a bad move. Getting a project like Darrell Shami, probably going to be the dude I draft. Probably. I want to see what other corners are left. And I'm assuming Garrett Williams is returning. We're going back. We're going back to the board. If Garrett Williams comes out, that's going to shock me. Because, again, I haven't checked this out in a couple days. I do not see Garrett Williams' name yet, and I did not see it at all. So we'll see if he's in here. I could just Command F this, but he hasn't said he's returning or declaring. I assume he's probably going to return based on the amount of dudes coming out. That's how we're going to treat it. Same thing with Eli Riggs. I think he could be a first-round pick. So I think corners out of the realm right now. Actually, Emmanuel Forbes would be a good corner for you guys. Not really big enough, but he at the end of the second, he's a really good ball hawk, and he probably has room on his frame to grow. So that's going to be a video, guys. Thank you guys so much for watching. Supporting me as always. It's just awesome. I really do appreciate your patience. See you on the far side. Peace.